This is episode 23 of the Hybrid Coaching Podcast. We start this one off talking about how we acquired our treadmills. Then we're going to get into a little bit of a quick Stuttgart Hyrox review before previewing Toronto and the major coming up, but we don't spend long there. Before we go into how to taper for an event and what is that one piece of equipment that you absolutely need in order to train properly for a Hyrox. Let's make hybrid fitness work for you. Hey, I wanted to start recording because I think this is interesting. So we had three treadmills, right? I won them at this auction place in Vegas. I guess won them. I paid for them through this auction place that I got, right? It wasn't a well-known auction place, and I had a whole bunch of treadmills. Well, I put the minimum bids. There was like 10 treadmills up. I put the minimum bids on 3 of them. And so I ended up, this was 2020, I think. So it was like during COVID. Yeah, it definitely was because we had to go get we had to like wear a mask when we were getting the treadmills and stuff. So I put the minimum bids. So the Bowflex treadmill that we have, I got it for like $100 because I put the minimum bid, got $100 on that treadmill. The Assault Runner, they were selling for like $5,000. I won that one. It was like $1,000.
No way.
Yeah, and it was completely in
Brand
the
new.
box, fine. Like it was a fine treadmill. There was a
So
third
you got
treadmill that
you
was
got
like missing a piece that was
yeah,
like part of a handle or something, and it's a folding treadmill. I gave that one to my sister, and it was only like $80.
and it probably still does the trick, right?
Yeah, I think she still
Yeah.
uses it. So anyway, I didn't expect to win all of these treadmills, but I guess win isn't the right word. It's an auction, you pay
Well,
for them. But
and you
I
said
had the highest bid, but it was just
bid.
the minimum bid allowed on the site at the time.
Yeah. Crazy to go back to those COVID times when like all of a sudden um workout equipment and weights just skyrocketed in price, right?
Yeah.
It went crazy down here in Australia. I don't know if it did in America. Did it kind of go off in America? Like everyone was buying exercise equipment, but then the price was like ridiculous because it was so in demand and um yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a great start to the podcast, Anthony.
Yeah. We could start it from here. I was just that story. So listeners, before we get going, you kind of just jumped in the middle of a conversation here because I decided to start recording because JK asked me about our treadmills, and there was a story behind how we got them. Um, thrifty auctions. That's how we ended up getting them for pretty low price. If you know anything about an
Yeah.
Assault Runner that we have, they usually range anywhere from like $3,000 to $5,000, and I think at the end of it, ended up paying like 1,200 for the one we have.
It's
Um,
neat.
and then
That's
just
pretty good.
assembled it myself and calibrated it. So it was an easy, like, no-brainer for me. And then the other treadmill goes up to 12 miles per hour, which is, what is that? 17 and a half kilometers per hour, 18 kilometers per, probably closer to 18 kilometers per hour.
Closer to 18, yeah.
Yeah, and it goes up to 15% incline.
Wow.
So
So, question, you probably need a better treadmill because you're do you do um if you're doing like a overspeed session, you probably need more than 12 miles per hour.
not me.
Not
I
no,
hope my 1 mile pace can be 12 miles per hour here in a little bit of time. But
in a little bit of time, yeah. Yeah. Um maybe your wife, but
yeah, I need a new
I was
treadmill
yeah.
so fast.
Sorry, not sorry, Anthony. Sorry, not
Look,
sorry.
actually, this is a something I was thinking of, just in case in the future we ever have like a training retreat or something, and you and you come out to
Oh.
it. I have that like mentality of, I'm not as good as I once was, but I'm as good once as I ever was, and I want to know what that distance is. I think if like short distances, I'm very, very short explosive distance, I think I can win. But I want to know how
All
far
right.
is that? So like if you and I were to
Yep.
race, how far do I win? Is it because like I said something about this to like Lauren, like I think 600 meters and below, I can win. Uh,
Wow. That's
and
a
and
big statement,
that's
Anthony.
maybe even pushing it. Maybe it's only like I don't even know. Maybe it's not even 400, but we haven't tested it all the time. So,
I love a bet like this, mate.
so I'm wondering,
I yeah,
can I beat you for 100 meters, 50 meters? Like,
yeah.
there's
Like
gonna be there's gonna be just a
how
point,
long
but
is it?
yeah.
Well, I think for the listeners, like I think most like who have witnessed my kind of like history, I guess, like probably knows I'm a bit more of a endurance athlete. I've come from an endurance background. I'm not coming from a fast twitch fiber background. So stemming on what you're saying, right, I agree. There is going to be a distance where you'll you will have me. I've got a feeling. I don't know. I'm putting money on that it would be closer to 500 than 600.
Look, I think it would be. Well,
I don't
I
know.
against you. Hold on, against you, I said, is it
Yeah.
100 meters, not 500? I don't
No,
know. Actually, you know what?
didn't you say
Maybe I've
600 at the start?
it's six. That's what I think I can get Lauren in.
Oh, Lauren, sorry, Lauren in. Okay. So, sorry. What do you think you could actually put it on the table now? What do you think you could get me in?
I don't know, man. Like I've seen some of your stuff, so I'm wondering if I just go all out. You realize if we make this bet, I'm gonna just start like training for it.
Training for that and
I'm
that
gonna train for
only.
that specific distance.
I reckon I'll put my hand up. I reckon you'd have me over 400.
You think so? It might be.
I
I don't
think
know.
so. I'm
Depends
not,
where I die out at. Maybe 300, maybe four.
you think so? Yeah. I, I don't know what my 400 would be right now. Like, and it doesn't bother me at all, but nah, I've got a feeling you've got so much, you've got, you've got a lot of power.
Now, if we
Yeah.
if we did something like 100 push-ups and then who would win in a run after that, like I don't know, I might be able to get you for a mile.
Yeah, true, mate. Shut up. For my 100 push-up time versus yours.
It's all right.
Turn it up.
Actually, that's a question. That's a question for the listeners. What is your guys' 100 push-up time? We did this the
Yep.
other day. JK and I had a little convo, um, because I had him do 100 push-ups. He did a great job. It was like 340 or something like that. You did it in.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's fantastic. It was just great. Maybe even 336, which is something that you've actually brought down over time. So really good job. Well, I don't know. Did you challenge me to it and say, well, why don't you go do it?
I'm pretty sure I just said like, "What's yours?" And you said you haven't done it in a while, and I pretty much just blatantly said, "Well, go do it."
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I think yeah, it said I haven't done it in a while. But I've done it under 2 minutes before, 100 push-ups in under 2 minutes. Um, chest to deck,
All right. Yep.
extend your arms. Um, and he said, no way. Tried to call my bluff
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah.
So I took a video and I sent it to him. What was my time, JK?
It wasn't under two, was it?
No, it was 2:06.
Yeah, 206. I thought it was like two and change. Yeah. 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 206 is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Absolutely
Well,
ridiculous.
it's okay. I'll get back to under two and I'll do it again.
Which should um transition to your wall ball time. Is that correct?
Yeah, for guys, it's pretty close. I mean, I ain't gonna do 100 wall balls in 2 minutes,
Yeah, yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Go
it
stick to the wall
just
ball
it would just show that the shoulder fatigue is not the limiter on my wall balls.
on your end. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Right. So that's what it. Yeah, you show. But yes, you got me on that one, mate. I'm coming for you though,
Let's
especially on
do
the
it.
bench press as well. Especially on the bench as well.
All
It's
right,
gonna take me a while. It's gonna take me a while, but
that's okay. The question for you, over this
hmm
last weekend, there was a race in Stuttgart. I know we're might be a little bit late just because of when our podcast comes out in terms of reviewing it, but was happy with it. Had an athlete run there, of course. Actually, Lauren and I, we had two athletes run there. Uh, they did a great job. Uh, and then on the men's side, oh, sorry, those athletes are Kate Davey and Rebecca Nader. On the men's side, we saw Graham Holiday put up one of his best times, if not his best time,
yeah,
56:33. Fantastic. Um, what'd you think? Did you look into it? I know you've talked to Graham before. Did you reach out or anything?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I've talked to Graham quite a bit, and he was ecstatic, and he just felt really good. Apparently, it was a pretty good course. I think he didn't go into the course details, but it felt good. Unfortunately for him, it was obviously bef it was after the Stuttgart race was after the cutoff for the Amsterdam major qualification. Um, what would you call it? Like cutoff time. So he
Oh yeah, the
actually that
so
yeah.
that
So
time
that
doesn't count towards Amsterdam.
no, but his that time will count for the next major. But
Yep.
yeah, no, kudos to him because I know for a fact that he's been one of the boys that has been working hard in the off season. So he yeah, he did very well.
Well, I
Um
had someone tell me that he actually started implementing what we talk about, double threshold training into his training. And so it's just,
Correct, yeah.
that's been showing out lately in these races. Um,
So
on the women's side, Kate Davey won. She did a fantastic race. We had a race plan, and I tell you, man, she was like within 10 seconds of every single thing.
wow,
It was great. And
that's great.
she finished a 102.06, which was just fantastic. Our goal was a 102. So, I mean, it was great. And she ended up in a great race itself, with Ida. So,
Mm,
yeah,
yeah.
Kate did an amazing job. She actually, if you go back and look, she was so powerful on the burpees. She went from 24
Yeah.
seconds down entering the burpee station to 35 seconds up leaving it.
How crazy is that? I think that's probably one of the most impressive stations from an individual that we've kind of seen. I was watching just like the splits online. I was
Yep.
and I could not believe it. I refreshed it twice just to make sure. So yeah, phenomenal race. Can I ask you, Anthony, obviously because we're both coaches, when someone like Kate on the weekend who um did fantastic and pretty much did exactly the race tactics that you spoke to her about, like doesn't that give you a buzz from your coach's end? Like, like not in a way that it's like you can, sorry to say, you can claim um the work, but you can claim that you know her as an athlete now, which is phenomenal, like which is crazy. That's how I view that.
Yeah. So like one of the things I do is I go back and obviously look at her past races, what she's done, so that you kind of can understand it. And one of the things I like to do is I don't tell them, okay, you need to lose 40 seconds here or something. I kind of round out all the stations and are like, look, if you go 5 seconds here and sacrifice 3 seconds here, like it's a gain of two. And so we just go look for net gains.
Yeah,
And she went through it and did exactly that. We found a lot of net gains in her runs.
yeah,
Overall, not just the runs, but like over all the stations and everything. I believe her station times, like added together overall, was like only 10 or 15 seconds faster than she's ever ran all of her stations before. Uh, and her run plus rock zone time was faster. She
Yeah.
focused actually on transitioning through the rock zone, kind of the way you do, right? Instead of
Yep.
just meandering through it or stopping for snacks or water for some other reason, you know.
Yeah.
So she, yeah,
Yeah.
she just executed. It was great execution, and that's like my goal as a coach is to find, what is your limit, and let's try to keep you right there. Let's try to keep you right there through the whole race, and you get the maximum of what you're capable of doing. Now, in
Exactly. Yeah.
that's for, a time trial race. Like you and I talk about, uh, when these majors come up, they're not time trials. It doesn't matter if the men's field, the top men goes 90 minutes if everybody else goes 91, right? Like, so I've told you, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you go 52 if the field goes 49. And it doesn't matter if you go uh 70 minutes if the field goes 74, It's
Mm.
what matters is racing. So we're going to you and I talk about that. Maybe we'll do a whole episode on like what is the difference and what is the mindset difference and
Yeah. Yeah.
approach it
Because it's a
differently.
massive difference.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely massive difference. Yeah.
Yeah.
It should be.
If you're trying to enter the Elite 15 or something, you have to go to these other events and time trial. Like it doesn't
Mm.
matter what your place is really. But
No.
if you
No.
go to, unless like you got your friend there and you're like, look, I don't care if I win or if what my time is, I just want to beat him, then it's a
Yeah.
it's a different race.
Yeah.
You're racing him.
Yeah.
Uh, which brings us up another event coming up this weekend. Toronto, the first one in High Rocks America. Very excited for
Exciting.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have athletes
I
racing?
do. I have quite a
Yeah.
few athletes. Yeah. I'll make a post on the hybrid engine about everybody going to it. But yeah, we got quite a few athletes going to run in Toronto. I'm
Right.
excited to watch them.
Yeah. 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 And you guys obviously aren't going up for that.
Nope.
But yeah, it's full guns blazing now, isn't it? And what recording this, we're actually less than a week to till the Amsterdam Major, which is
6 days.
exciting.
That's right. So the episode after this one, hopefully, if JK has, storage availability on his phone and gets anybody or the group together and is able to do that, maybe next week the podcast here will be post race day or a little
Yeah,
gathering. Probably won't, maybe not include me, but have JK talking to the girls. So, I mean, you can bring on whoever you want, but I know you have yourself and Joanna, right? Racing.
yep, yep.
Um, I have, well, between Lauren and I, we have six of the women in the elite field racing and you. So,
That's
uh,
fantastic.
very exciting.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
great
yeah,
race to watch.
yeah, yeah,
And I know they can't wear it at the start line, but we got some, hopefully going to give them maybe some clothing or something.
yep.
Cool. I know you
Oh,
just rip it off anyway, so.
that's it. That's it.
All right. Awesome. So, speaking of the majors, have you looked down the list?
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. Of course I have like in a way that I obviously wanted to know exactly who was in and who was out. But I looked at it, got the information, and I haven't looked back, right? Like I type of person that, likes to know once and then that's it. So it's a pretty deep field, if I think about it. And um yeah, uh I think the most exciting thing from my end about it is that there's a lot of unknown when no one apart from myself and um, Tim Vinish has done a doubles, but he hasn't done singles this year. Apart from myself, I think I'm the only one that has raced this year
Well,
for the
Lucas
shortest time.
Storath did
Sorry, Lucas Dorath did. Correct.
he did Stuttgart
Correct.
last weekend, and I mean, it was like
Sorry.
a it wasn't his normal performance. It was like a 104, 103.
Yeah, and so sorry. I stand correct. So did Thomas Verdict.
Did he?
So yeah, so he did a 58, I think, on the weekend in Stuttgart. But what I'm getting at here is like, for me, it's like I, and sorry, Jake did and did an impressive time the other day. So there are a few of us, but there's more athletes who haven't raced, which is a unknown factor for everyone because you don't know how hard they've worked or not worked during the off season, right? So, um, the first major is quite exciting from that end, right?
Yeah, I'm very excited for the bottom of the list here. And how we talked about earlier, Graham, who just ran an amazing 56, he's actually the first man out
Mm.
of this major, which that's a tough spot to be in, but I really hope that means that everybody ahead of him actually shows up.
He's going to
I'd
be
be
there.
Yeah,
He's going to
well,
be there.
he's gonna be there, so if
Yeah,
somebody accepted their spot and didn't show up, then maybe he'll
he'll
be
be
able to
able to
jump in.
run.
Hopefully they let him.
Yeah.
Oh,
He's
and
pretty much said that.
yeah, Tobias Lotwine. I think he
Yeah.
raced doubles um in Stuttgart. Yeah, I think you muted yourself. Tobias, he's awesome. He's been around this game a long time. Took first. He's the only other person, right? I guess Alex won now, but Tobias won in 2021. Uh, and then he took third in 2023. And I think, oh, he did get the roll down at Worlds last year, right? Got to race. He ended up in like sixth or seventh. You're muted. Oh no, technical difficulties. Can't hear you. So I'm gonna keep going until we get JK
Can you
back.
can you
There
hear
we
me
go.
now?
Yes, I can, but it's a little broken up.
Um, uh, I don't know what's going on.
That's better.
Um, yeah, he Tobias came sixth last year
Yeah,
when he got the roll down as well. So, he's a man to watch as well.
he's competitive. He's a good racer.
Yeah,
Um, and then I'm always curious. I saw Sadiq El is going to be in there. Sadiq, uh, he ran really well at the end of the year last year, but it wasn't like early enough to get into the World Championship. So now he gets to start at the beginning of the year. So I know like he'll probably be looking for a spot there.
yeah, for sure. I
Uh,
think he's one of the only guys I haven't raced against, actually. Um,
he was in Cologne.
oh, was he?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, he was. He was.
So uh, good field. And I'm excited for that race. And also I'm excited for the women's race. I'm excited to just see how it goes down, you know.
Yeah,
Want to see like what women have made the jump, who's elevated their level, all that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's funny because, as I just mentioned, it's kind of like to me one of the biggest. Well, I don't know. Every race to me is big, but uh, it it matters a lot to me, like because it shows if you have worked hard during the off season or not, pretty much, and
Yeah.
it can really set yourself up for a really good season if you do well. But yeah, so exciting.
Agree.
Less than a week.
Uh, okay. So on my list here, I just have us talking about if you'd like to tapering for an event. Okay. So
Mhm.
tapering, you're about to go. We just talked about those majors. You got 6 days. Um, and I know the answer to this, but I'm gonna ask you the question to frame it for the listeners here. Have you started tapering yet? When do you start tapering, and what does it look like?
So the answer to that is I technically started tapering yesterday. As in, which for the listeners was um, Thursday. So exactly a week from the race. Now, um, now I'm a little bit nervous because I'm thinking maybe I started a little bit earlier than that, and I think I did. I'm going to change my answer to I think I started on Wednesday. Um, but yeah. Sorry, Anthony, just jump in. When did I start tapering?
So the way we do that usually is we just kind of, it's not necessarily like a hard date, like here you go. It's
Yeah.
all right, how important is this race? We're gonna shift like our deloading phase, right? So we kind of take you from what I call like full training days. And for you, it was unique because you had that 25 hours of travel day.
Yeah.
Um, so it's like, okay, well, you're kind of given a rest day, but traveling isn't really a rest day. Uh,
No.
so, and actually, I'm gonna jump on a tangent here just real quick, because I'm referencing back to our last episode. If you haven't listened to it, go ahead and listen to it. JK, did you get any swollen feet pictures from listeners after that? Did they send it to you and say, "Hey, look at my swollen feet"?
No, which I'm very upset about. I would love some swollen feet.
So if anybody wants to send some swollen feet pictures to JK, go ahead and
Oh
do that.
man.
I did get one. I
Did
got
you
a
actually?
I got a picture of swollen feet. It was from my wife, but
Oh.
it was like, you know, look, I got
Yeah,
swollen feet too. I was
absolutely.
like, oh, that's great.
Uh,
Um, just to show the reference of, people listen and they show us.
yeah, good. Good.
Anyway, that was funny. I just wanted to tell you that was a great one. All right, back to tapering for an event. You kind of so what you do is you do your full weeks of training. For you, we did, full and then a little bit of like extra, even like bumped up really big days, the last 2 days before you flew,
Yeah.
because that rest day that wasn't really a rest day. And then when you got and you landed in Europe, we had to not necessarily change it, but we had to test like, okay, how are you feeling? So we went and did a couple of like ramp up days. And then after that, it was like, okay, these are your last like training because those are really the blocks of training. You were 2 weeks out. Those are about the blocks, the final building blocks that we're going to participate or be shown in Amsterdam, right? So we got those in. And then once you settled through that, you had your thresholds, which we really like the thresholds. And we'll get into something about that later about the why you do them and where you do them at the end there. And then we just kind of deload in terms of the number of reps. We deload the volume a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Intensity, we never really spike our intensity super, super high. So, I like to call it like rounding out curves. Just make sure that we're kind of bringing it in. It's a taper, right? So a taper like a big inverse funnel.
Yep.
We're just trying to bring everything in between the intensity, the volume, the everything, anything that caused damage to you, we're trying to um, eliminate. So we start
Yeah.
pulling those things out, let your body recover more and more, and we get that super compensation at the end so that your body feels fully recovered. But we also do not um, completely rest, right? So we don't just shut it all down. What you end up
Yeah.
doing is you have these like big swings in amplitude of like, oh, he gets better. We um, introduce a stimulus and you have to like go through it. We just try to make that amplitude a little bit tighter and smaller. So like you keep working out, but we go back and do some damage, but not as much as we normally do. Your body responds and We just try to get that curve to go upward, right?
Yeah, and I think like the most important thing to understand with that one is like the travel aspect in between, because as Anthony just said, I had a quite a big couple of days before I traveled on purpose, right? To then obviously get to a different country, different time zone. The travel like probably was more stress on my body than an actual day of training without knowing it, right? So I really had to make sure that I was adapting on like naturally. And it did take me a few days, but I also needed to get volume in because it was still 2 weeks out. So what's happened since, because I've been here for a week now, is as Anthony just kind of described, I've had big days, but also slowly but surely the overall repetition or reps per day has deteriorated to when I had an active recovery day yesterday, which is a week out, right? To then ultimately have a pretty, I wouldn't say a normal heavy, like not heavy, but volume day today. But I've worked today. I've done an overspeed session. I've done a high rock session. I've done some CNS posterior work on purpose to, again, Anthony, correct me if I'm wrong, to tax my CNS 6 days out on purpose to get me to um, um, rebound in a few days. And then tomorrow is another, just an easy kind of flow day, let's just say. And then, as I've seen what the week is looking like up until next Thursday, mate, it's just slowly but surely getting rid of unnecessary repetition, still hitting a lot of different movements, still hitting a threshold run, just to make sure my body is still moving so it knows it still wants to move, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so these last few days are more about getting your reps that you are going to end up doing anyway, getting them in so that you feel the race, shoring up technique things when you're not fatigued, shoring up your movement. As you can see on your like that threshold day that you still have left, it's not as big of a threshold day as you usually have, like any normal threshold day. It's about 60% of it in terms of the
Yeah.
total time on feet. So you have that left. You have some specific movement patterns that you're going to go through that you'll sweat from it, but it's not making you work. You're not going out and doing 1,000 meters of sandbag weighted lunges because you just want to really make sure your lunges are great. Like that would tax you so bad and
Yeah.
like just make you sore. So really what it's about is getting your body to flush blood everywhere in different portions and make sure that you are not sore, you're recovered, you're healing, and all that
Yeah.
going into the
Absolutely.
race, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Um, and I think like I'm very dialed in, whether it is for a race or not, in terms of my controlling my sleep as much as I can, controlling my nutrition as much as I can. But the thing is, the closer you get to to a significant, important race, sleep is the number one priority with, you know, really good fuel and any other recovery tools that you personally like to use. And, as we're discussing the taper training, you've got to realize that that's all well and good if that's kind of there, but most importantly, it's the kind of phasing from training is really important to recovering. Recovery is even more important.
Yep. And that's also one of the things that we like to talk about is like when you are in your taper and you're about to go hit something, it is a lot about removing impact stimulus, right? You take a lot of impact. So if you remove that impact from your body, you can actually do a little bit more leading into an event. And what I mean by that is if you were, because you still have some jogs left to do and you have that
Yeah.
threshold session.
Yeah.
If you were to go out on the road, your body takes a massive beating from the runs that you would do out there. Um, Leading into this, if you do your work on a treadmill, right, you massively reduce the impact load that you are experiencing um, going into this. So your body not only gets that blood pumping, that extra bit, but you eliminate those forces that would really damage you.
Mm. So question, right? And I'm not asking this for my sake. It's just a brainstorming question. Right. Anthony, I love running outside when I do my long runs or my jogs. And I've got a few coming up before my race. Um, I just love running outside. Shouldn't I, like, if I love running outside, can't I just run outside?
You can. I would say leading into your race, maybe not as much.
Yeah.
Because like I said, you want to reduce that impact
Low.
and
Yeah.
the forces and everything they're going to be uh, your body would have to absorb if you did.
Yeah. And like, it's as simple as not only like reducing the load of, let's just say, the jog or two that I've got 2 days before the race, the day before the race, and I'll be honest with you, the morning of. It's actually like the thing that I think about is reducing the overall load of the whole day outside of the training as well. So there's no way that I will be walking the streets of Amsterdam on Monday, Tuesday. Like, well, I'm not doing that anyway now, but you got to realize that going for a long walk, yeah, look, get your body moving in the morning, but not long and not too strenuous, obviously. But you got to look at it from a perspective of um, the impact that your whole day can put on your body, not just the training as well.
Yeah. Time on feet.
Yes, there you go. Time on feet.
Yep. So that is what I have for tapering. Do you have anything else you want to add in there?
I think like the most important thing is not to overthink it. If you don't have a plan and you're listening to this, well, first of all, like we'd love to talk to you, but second of all, like if you're used to training every day, don't just stop because your body will want to stop even more. Make sure you just, follow the kind of mindset of reducing intensity, reducing the overall reps, but still get some movement every day before your race.
Yeah. Especially if you're used to high volume, you don't want to just cut it off. Same,
Correct.
same, same thing applies going the other way, or both ways. We talk about when you
Yeah.
add volume, make it easy, slowly add. Also, don't just stop.
Correct. Yeah.
All right. So before we get into the next thing, I just have one reminder here, guys. If you can hit those three little dots, go scroll down to the show and scroll up, write a review, hit the 5 stars if you think we deserve it, and do that. I was
Boom.
able to find a ratings thing on Spotify last week after JK called me old. Was able to find our ratings. It said we had, I believe, 10 ratings. So I was like, oh, great. So 10 people have done that. But
Thank you.
if you guys can leave a review, take just the 1 minute, that'd be great. And actually, I'm going to read a review. Uh, Not this, we didn't get it on the show, but it was an article written by the Hybrid Experiment, Mark Alpin.
Yeah. Great
So
bloke. Great fella.
I'm just gonna read out his his review of our podcast. This is from a couple of weeks ago and something he put out. Uh, James Kelly and his coach Anthony Parasini team up in this podcast to discuss their thoughts and experiences training and programming for High Rocks. James Kelly is an elite High Rocks athlete and coach who has become well known for his fun, friendly, personality off the track and tenacious, inspiring performances on it. Anthony Persini is one of the most respected coaches in the space due to his knowledge and ability to analyze and understand the sport's demands. Also worth noting, he coaches his wife, Lauren Weeks, who is one of High Rocks' most decorated athletes. I would say that of all the podcasts on this list, this is probably the most analytical and serious. It's the podcast I would say I personally take the most away from as an athlete in terms of understanding the sport of high rocks and why I feel the way I do in races and how I can train as a result. That's not to say it's boring, though. Anthony and James are engaging personalities and have a great way of breaking complex topics down into understandable, actionable pieces with banter in between. My favorite episodes to date include the 2 episodes on lactate threshold and the episode on goal setting.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Mark. Really appreciate your words, mate.
Yeah.
And I'm just so rapt that he personally gets a lot out of it. Thank you.
Yeah, I really appreciate him writing that. I'm glad I was able to share it. Um, it is serious, but we like to break it down and have fun. So I'm glad he
Yeah.
added that in there because
Yeah,
especially
exactly.
we do
Bit of
laugh a lot.
banter. Bit of
Uh,
banter, yeah.
yeah. All right. So not necessarily the last question, but one of the things I wanted to talk to you about. Okay, last week we said if you had no equipment, how would you train for high rocks? How
Yeah.
would you train for hybrid fitness? All that. All right. Now you have the world, let's call it completely open desert. So that's all you get is a big sandy open desert. Okay, no hills, no extra, just big flat blank space. You get one piece of equipment. What do you pick?
Um, and the goal and the purpose is to get prepared for a high rocks.
Uh, we could say, you could frame it that way, or it can be just get yourself as fit as possible. I think, yeah,
Um,
let's start with get yourself
just
prepared for a high rocks. That's fine.
or no, well, why don't we just go to get yourself as fit as possible for the sake of fitness, right?
Okay, yeah,
Now, are you able to run on this sandy desert? Is that like
sure. We'll say running you're allowed to do.
because because in my head it's like all right, like I think my answer, if it was just like the question to be, um, you can't do anything but this machine or whatever, I think I'd probably go, in my eyes, a treadmill. But if you're saying to me that you can run on the sandy desert and then you've got one piece of equipment, I think like it's funny if you asked me this even 6 months ago, it'd be different. But my answer would be the ski erg.
Really?
Yeah, I think because what I feel on the ski erg is more of a whole body experience than the rower, than the Concept 2 bike, than the assault runner. Then the assault runner, then the assault bike. Um, and I think for me personally, I think due to it, I don't know, like for some reason, I feel like as if it's more of a whole body power output. I think I would choose to ski if I can still run.
So not like a barbell. I guess I would have to include a barbell and weights or something, but you wouldn't
Rather than
choose a
weights.
barbell. You would or a
No,
sled or anything. You would
no,
choose the
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 Concept 2 ski.
Concept 2 skier.
And it's funny, like, and Anthony, I'm okay to say this, like, that I've kind of got a love hate, not love hate relationship. I wouldn't put it that way, but sometimes in my training, I haven't felt good on the ski. Sometimes I feel good. So it's just, but the ski is the first one that comes into my head. Um, I'm assuming your answer is going to be different.
Yeah, I necessarily wouldn't choose the skier. Even the rower, like I really struggle. I had an answer for this, but because like so if it just to give a little background, I usually think of these topics that we come up with on my runs and I'll write them down as I'm running, right? Uh, and I remember writing this one down and having in my head at that time, oh, this is the one. This is what it's got to be. This is how I would do it. And now I can't remember what it was, why I was so
Oh,
passionate about it. And
damn it.
And I'm like, you know what? Maybe it wasn't honestly the best one because I can't remember it.
Yeah. I actually think that's more of the message there. But all right, now, yeah, so you actually can't remember.
No, I can't remember, but I mean, if you think about it, like obviously you can get your runs and you wouldn't be able to do it on a treadmill, so you'd be taking in the impact load
Yep.
if you're in this space, right? I love the idea of weights as a stimulus, so it's hard for me to go against something like even just a single dumbbell or kettlebell or something. Um, but or like a barbell with simple
With weight.
weights. It's
Yeah.
hard for me to go against that or even a sled, because there's a lot you can do with a sled too. But there's so much you can do with just your body, and you can get a lot of the engine work that you need uh, without having to have the machines because you could do your runs for engine work. A lot of people like you could do CrossFit workouts in a singular space. Like one of the hardest workouts I think I've ever done in CrossFit, I didn't leave a little 4 by 4 foot area.
Four by
You
four,
know,
yeah.
it
Yeah.
you can do it. And not to say that you need to crush yourself to get better. I don't think that like anybody can write a super hard workout with a ton of reps. Like it's easy to make people go
Do
really
that.
hard.
Yeah.
Which I mean, it's just proof. I don't know if you saw this. There was on the East Coast, a lacrosse team brought a military guy in to do a workout for this college lacrosse team. So people that are fit, right? And after the workout, several of the college lacrosse male players got sick, and multiple, like 6 of them, were hospitalized.
Wow.
They had rhabdo. And if you don't know what
Yeah.
rhabdomyolysis is, yeah, they ended up with rhabdo in their arms, which anybody can put you through a hard workout. It doesn't
Yeah.
take somebody, it doesn't mean that they're a good trainer or a good coach,
No.
right? I could go write something right now that, oh, nobody can do this workout. Well, yeah, go write 1,000 push-ups, 1,000 pull-ups, and something crazy like that, where you have to run 6 miles with it and all this other stuff, and you can give anybody uh, that kind of stimulus, but it's not necessarily needed. And obviously, for these lacrosse players, what they were given was not needed.
And what ended up like they were fine at the
Well,
end. Like,
they got rhabdo. So rhabdo is a lot of metabolic waste built up, and you can't process it. So like if you overwork a certain area or muscle group, right? So a lot of these guys, it happens in their arms. If you overwork that area, the tissue breaks down and you end up, one of the diagnoses for rhabdo is like the color of your urine. If you're like peeing brown, Coca-Cola pee, you could have rhabdo. And that's like all that waste got flushed through your kidneys, like it can cause distress in your body. It gets pretty serious. You'll get a lot of swelling and stuff. So you got to go to the hospital for fluids and other things that can actually help alleviate it. But if it gets worse, right, you can get muscle necrosis, where it actually just completely breaks down and you get dead tissue.
have you ever like? Sorry, we're kind of going off
Yeah,
topic here, but
but
like, yeah. No, so all right, on topic. You didn't necessarily answer the question. Like, what is your what is your equipment?
well, so it's tough. But I think the first thing that pops into my head is I'd have to say, um, God, a barbell. A barbell pops in my head. That's what I would use first. I would keep my barbell and my weights. I'm gonna count them as one thing because it's one like movement, but I can do back squats and deadlifts and uh power cleans and snatches and bench presses or floor presses if I don't have a bench. Like there's so much that I could do with just having a barbell. Uh I think it's necessary. You can do bent over rows, you can do strict presses, push presses. Like there's so many functional compound movements you can do with a barbell that I just feel it needs to be in your training.
Which ultimately is funny because obviously my answer is a little bit more endurance biased and yours is a little bit more.
Yeah.
Strength bias.
There you
But
go.
yeah, it's interesting. I'd love your guys, listeners, what would you choose if you had one piece of equipment that you could only choose? What would you choose and why? I think obviously the reason why is the most important.
Well, I think the reason why is very important. For me, it's like I can run, I could do complete workouts that are like 5 deadlifts, 5 hang power cleans, 5 front squats, 5 shoulder overhead, 5 bent over row. And like you do that workout with a lightweight, a moderate weight, uh, for 20 minutes, you know. You can do thrusters and running and thrusters and so much you can do with the barbell. I think there's a lot to it. And you can do a lot with like your ski erg, but with your ski erg, you're not, you can get repetitive stress on your lats and your triceps, and you obviously can improve your engine and there's strength through the aerobic pieces you could do. But I mean, I could empty my barbell and do tricep extensions, overhead tricep extensions at the same time. I could do bent over rows. So you can get a lot of the similar stimuluses along with everything else. And you can just go light and do repetitive movement. You could do a ton of squats. You could do a ton of um, the movement of a ski erg with a barbell.
Yeah. But yeah, it's I don't know if there's actually a right or wrong answer there. It's an interesting one, Anthony. Um, but yeah, I personally like. I agree with you that obviously with the ski erg, I can't get any sort of pure strength work done, right?
Yeah.
So mine's more in the aerobic, anaerobic realm more than anything.
Okay. And so maybe next week we'll talk about what do you do if you can't run? So take out the running, then what kind of stuff do you do? Or
Yeah.
we'll add it to these other things. Just before we go today, do you have any workouts you want to share with people? Something that you like or a combo or
Well,
something you
yeah, like
found that would be
kind
helpful?
of stemming on like the idea of if you don't have a lot of equipment or even any. I put this to my team like a couple of months ago. We kind of had a team kind of weekly workout competition, and it was as simple as this: 5 rounds for time, 30 air squats, 20 reverse lunges with no weight, just body weight, and 10 burpees. So 30 air squats, 20 reverse lunges, 10 burpees. Um, that is a burner if you go hard. I can't remember. I think I did it in like 6 minutes flat. 30 air squats, 20 reverse lunges, 10 burpees. And yeah, it's a great little burner.
How many rounds? 5?
Five.
Nice.
Yeah. Oh,
So
I mean, and if you wanted to make it a bit more of an aerobic workout or like a bit longer, you obviously, you could easily do 10
yeah,
rounds.
you could keep going. Uh you could do a lot of reps of that stuff. I've been looking at different structures of workouts. How do you like to structure your workouts? Like I know a lot of what we do is like rounds for time or this many rounds, but we also do AMRAPs. We do 21, 15, 9, 10 down to 1, 5 by 3 minute AMRAP with 1 minute rest, like all that kind of stuff. Do you have a favorite structure of workout you like?
Recently, I don't think I've told you this. I've loved um AMRAP, let's just say AMRAP 3 or even AMRAP 4 with a 1 minute rest in between.
Yeah.
Times 5. So
Yeah.
4 minutes of work, and I'm normally doing like a buy-in and then max reps of something to finish the 4 minutes with a minute break in between. I hope that made sense, listeners. I've
Yeah.
really enjoyed them, Anthony, actually.
Yeah. I like that type of work or spend 4 minutes doing this, 1 minute doing that, 3 minutes doing this. Like those things are fantastic. And I have to say, one of my favorite type of workouts is probably a chipper, which just means like you chip away at it. So just a list of things to get done so that I know once I'm done with something, I don't have to go back to it. Just done, 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 done. Like finish. I like to tick off the next thing on the list, right? So I just keep going
Are
down the
you
list.
a list guy? Like
Oh
in
yeah,
the
dude. I got
morning?
I got
Yeah,
lists everywhere.
yeah. There you
There's
go.
an app called To
That's funny.
Do. There's an app
Yeah,
called To Do List you can actually
yeah.
use and you can click them off as you go.
So you've got that?
You could share it with other people too and be like, here's our list of things to do together. If anybody
That's
doesn't
a
know
crack.
about it, you can very handy for organization or use
Um,
Trello too. It's good.
I'm not a list guy, and I've never have been. I've always been. My list has always been in my head every day, and I don't know. I'm not saying that works or doesn't work. It is what it is. I guess I can say it works
I,
for me.
I need people to write stuff down. I'm like, please write it down and send it to me. Please write it down. Like, don't just tell me verbally because I won't remember. I need people like
Yeah, true.
write it down, send it to me. Uh, do you like have things that fall through the cracks with that?
Yeah, well, if I'm being honest, yeah, for sure. Yeah, like there's always something. No, not always, but yeah, like at the end of my day, I'm like, oh, God damn, I've forgot that. Um, but yeah, the way I work, which is interesting, like just going back to the workouts, it's funny how you're like that day to day, and then you like the chipper where you tick something off, don't go back to it. Tick something off, don't go back to it. I makes like I like that as well, but I don't necessarily. I can't say that I like that more. I probably would rather workouts where I am continuously like doing rounds, like right, like the other day I did that GPP that I told you that was uh on 3 rounds. Yeah, 3 rounds. It was 20 push-ups, 30 burpee to plate, 40 dumbbell snatches, 50 double unders and 60 air squats. It has been my favorite workout for so yeah, it's probably my favorite workout that I've done with you because of to be honest, because of how I felt doing it. That
Yeah.
obviously makes a big difference if you feel like it was just a workout that sorry like to but I just felt so in control and I was able to negative split all 3 rounds.
That's awesome.
But yeah, but that feeling of going back and knowing that I'll negative split, like knowing that I was going to because I was able to be in control of my pace. Anyway, I've kind of gone on a tangent, but there you go.
No, I mean, that makes sense. I like 3 round workouts too. Three
No,
rounds, 5 rounds.
yeah,
Yeah, 5 rounds, man.
5 rounds, bro.
I get to round three and I'm like, oh man. So I wrote a workout the other day because I was like, I gotta get on the machines. I haven't done something I wanted to do. So uh we were all just in the garage and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna get on the machine. Ended up doing 3 rounds of 500-meter row, 10 dumbbell bench press, and ended up I just grabbed the dumbbells next to us, so there were 80-pound dumbbells in each hand. Uh,
Nice, solid.
500-meter ski erg, and then I went and grabbed the 50-pound dumbbell, 20 dumbbell snatches. So I did three
Yeah,
rounds of 500,
good.
10, 500, 20,
That's
back
a
and forth.
solid
And
work.
I felt like it felt pretty good. I was like, yeah, so I
Yeah,
wasn't like trying to fly through it, but I think I was holding a pretty good pace, about a 150 to 155 on both the machines, and then unbroken on the dumbbell stuff.
yeah,
I think the hardest part is picking up the 80-pound dumbbells and getting them in position, but they were all right. Should have
yeah.
used the hundreds, but they were over by Lily's playpen holding it in place, so I didn't want to
No, you don't want
go
to
grab them.
get her around, but it's funny. All the workouts you are delivering me, the first thing that I look at is whether it is 3 rounds, 4 rounds, or 5 rounds. I don't actually look at um, the actual exercises. I'm like, no, I want to know how long it is. And it's interesting, like you obviously programming for me, and then I'm doing the same for my coaching and my athletes. It's not just as easy as going, oh, 3 rounds or 4 rounds. You've got to take into account the overall volume of the workout and why you're doing it, right? Like,
Yeah.
um,
One round could look easy and be like, oh, anybody can do that. But if you turn it into 5 rounds, it's like, oh my God, did you
yeah.
even do the math that like, if it's
So,
call it 25 GHDs is fine, GHD sit-ups is fine. But when you put it for 5 rounds, it's 125 GHD sit-ups. Like that's gonna wreck some people. Maybe not like full-time CrossFitters aren't because they do a lot of those, but
yeah.
like somebody that hasn't done a GHD sit up, you ain't gonna do 125 of them. Like you need to
No,
pull those things back, especially dumbbell snatches. 20 reps is great at a
yep,
time. 40 reps
yep,
is fine. But if you look at it and you have a 5 round or 3 round, you're gonna end up having them do 200 reps of dumbbell snatch. You know what that's gonna do to their lower back? Like you got
yeah,
to keep that in mind when you program things like this. And that kind of goes back to what we said earlier in the episode about how anybody can make a hard workout. I can make a workout you can't do. It's easy.
yeah,
Doesn't mean it's good.
yeah, absolutely. On that note, I've got one more workout to do today, and it's the 5 rounds
Yeah.
of um farmer's carry lunges and no weight lunges and burpees. And I'm so glad it's 5 rounds, not three.
Why is that?
No,
Because it's
that was
less each round.
sarcastic. No, that was sarcastic, mate. I thought it was going to be three.
I mean, you can make it three if you want.
Nah,
Remember,
no
it's the
way.
it's not
No
nothing is
way.
set in stone. It's got to be a lot about how you feel.
I
If
know.
you don't
I'm
feel
I'm
like,
feeling I'm feeling juicy. Don't you worry. I'm
yeah, you
I'm
might actually
feeling
want to
good.
take those lunges down. Actually, I'm looking at it right
Well,
now.
on that, sorry, I'm going off again, but what about this? What about the other day? Like, and this is how good Anthony is, guys. And I hope I'm like this with my athletes. But we had our check-in, and you know, it was our normal one-to-one check-in, what we go through, and go through the weekly schedule of my training and thoughts and tactics and whatnot. And I knew that I had thresholds. I knew that I had 6 sets of 6 minute threshold. And all of a sudden afterwards, after the call, I went back on the app and I had 5 sets. I was like, what is going on? Did I see something this morning that I like, and then I messaged you and I couldn't start until I knew if you stuffed up or it was just it was actually you changing it. And in fact, moral of the story is Anthony heard my or got my feedback and changed the volume of the workout and accordingly and listened to me, let's just say, and it ended up being 5 sets, not six.
Yeah. I mean, that happens too. Your coach needs to listen to your input. Like it's super
Yeah.
important. Your input is super important in terms of this. So,
Hmm.
if any of my other athletes are listening, please always make sure that you go look at the
Yeah.
at what it is before you start. Because I know a
Yeah.
lot of them they go back and look at it the night before and they'll like write it
Yeah.
down or something. But sometimes I'm like, oh, and I'll go change it or I'll go like
Yeah.
make sure I make
Or
edits.
or you know what?
Most of the time I'll text them or something and be like, hey, I changed this.
I've
But
changed it, yeah.
yeah,
But you know what? Like, and it's different with Georgie because she's on the pro track. But um, she writes down. Actually, she's a note taker, mate. She's like you. She writes down her day. Like she time schedules her day, not just with her training, but then when she gets to her training for the day, she'll write down the exact thing that she's got to do. So if it's 5 rounds, if it's like 6x6s or thresholds. So um, yeah, that would actually hinder her if she got something and then all of a sudden you changed. Because she like does that on a Sunday for the whole week.
jeez,
She's crazy, man. She's crazy.
that's awesome. I used
Anyway,
to I gotta say, man, I used to do that for like in college. I'd be like, all right, I gotta be at class here, which means I need to leave the house here. Like I'd have my whole week
oh
scheduled out and I'd
yeah,
have like practice. Like I'd have everything in there that I knew I needed.
Yeah. In like 5 minute increments.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's 5-10 minute increments, I think is what I had it. Maybe 15. Just to make it easy.
15. Yeah. I think Georgie's 15.
I had a huge Excel spreadsheet of it, and I'd even color code it like with the
Yeah, that's what she does. She color codes everything. I think training is red because to her red is like an aggressive like color. So when she sees it, she knows she's about to go deep.
So that's really funny. I've actually changed colors on some of like if anybody has seen my Excel sheet of how I program, you see what I pull up,
Yeah,
right? It's color
yeah,
coded, like each
yeah.
thing. And that's the
Everything.
exact thing. Monostructural, the morning stuff, it's color coded, it's green. It's happy,
Yep.
wake up, get moving.
Yeah.
GPP
It's
is
happy.
blue.
It's
Yeah.
happy. Wake up. Yeah.
GPP is blue. You're still feeling good. Like it's your glue and stuff. Strength is purple. Like you can see it's like, getting away from that calmer
Purple.
color to a little bit more aggressive, but it's still purple. Like it's still relatively calm. Applied strength is yellow. Like, hey, here's your yield. A little bit like going out.
Yeah.
Extra credits like a reddish brown. So
Yep.
it's like, if you're feeling it. And then the
Yeah.
gross conditioning, the final stuff, it's red.
It's red. It's like a maroney red.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. It's blood red.
Yeah. That's so funny. Works.
Anyway,
I gotta scoot off because I've got to get this 5 rounder
all
done.
right. Well, thanks for listening, everyone. If you would like to reach out, please do.
Yeah, please
Go
do.
ahead, hit that 5-star like button if you haven't already. If not, or if you have, you can leave a review. We'd appreciate it. If you have left a review and I haven't read it on here, uh, tell me what it was or reach out to me and tell me how to read reviews.
Yeah. And please let us know what your piece of equipment would be and
Yes.
why. Message us on jk.hybridcoaching on Instagram and Anthony.
You can message me at the Hybrid Engine.
Hybrid Engine. Yep.
And guys, we're very excited. The first major is going to come up, and it will be this next Thursday, October 10th, 6 days away. Don't forget to catch Toronto if you're able to, and
Yeah.
tune in to the major. It's exciting. You should definitely tune in. I'm not going to be on site. I'll be tuning in with you guys. One of the things I like to do is I like to put it up on our TV in our living room, and we'll do that. I was actually thinking, JK, I might video myself and my reactions so you guys can see how
Oh,
like
that'd be
anxious
sick.
I am watching you guys.
Yeah, that'd be
Uh,
great. And
because
I think the ladies would be at like 9 a.m. for you. I'll be at 10:30 a.m.
I think is it that what time do you race? Do you know?
Ladies 6 p.m. and we're 7:30.
So 10 a.m. for me on the women's race, and you're 7:30, so that'll be 11:30 a.m.
Yeah. Yeah.
Next Thursday.
Next Thursday.
Oh man, it's exciting.
Yeah. Looking forward to it.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Talk soon, guys.
Thank you again for listening to the Hybrid Coaching Podcast. If you'd like to follow JK or myself, Anthony, you can find us at jk.hybridcoaching on Instagram or at the Hybrid Engine on Instagram. Either one of us usually and routinely answer questions on those platforms. So if you'd like to get in touch, reach out. Thank you again. Have a great day.